America lost the Iran war, and the deal that's just been signed at the G7 in France confirms it. We now know that this deal lifts US sanctions on Iran, gives Iran access to $25 billion that is currently frozen in overseas accounts, promises a further $300 billion in reconstruction funds, and lifts the American blockade of Iran's ports. Okay, it does also reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which will avert potentially catastrophic damage to the world economy. And yes, it does also commit Iran to further talks on ending its nuclear program. But the strait was open before the war started, and Iran was negotiating over its nukes as well. When Trump began this war, his aims were clear: topple the regime, degrade its military, end its support for proxies, end its ballistic missile program, and ensure it never gets a nuke. This deal achieves none of those things. Iran's regime is more hardline than ever, and it has just been given one hell of a financial lifeline. It will no doubt use that money to start rebuilding its military and missiles, and to fund its proxies. And perhaps most importantly, Iran has learned that it can outlast and outmaneuver the US when it comes to negotiations. I rather suspect these nuclear talks will go nowhere very slowly.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Kakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and salutations to all the Akim, after the four corners to true sincerity. This is Tasha Roquan Moth of the GMS Dallas Camp, coming to you with a quick lesson. Lord's willing, edifying unto the hopeful elect. You know, I was sitting and I was meditating today, you know, just going into the things that Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai has done, you know, for the elect in these last days, man. He's setting up Esau, Edom for that ultimate tumble and fall, you know, and all these things have been written, you know, aforetime for our learning. All right, so I'm just going to jump straight into the scriptures and Abaratazah. You know, this, again, I pray this is edifying unto the hopeful elect. Okay, I'm going to start here in Matthew chapter 13, verse 16. It says, "But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear." All right. So blessed is the elect, the ones that are diligently watching to see, you know, how Bahashim Shai is setting this thing up to fall. All right. And your ears, for they hear. All right. Because this word is by hearing. All right. You know, we hear this word and we meditate day in and day out thereby. All right, and that's what Yahweh Bahashim Shai has trained us to be, you know, to be very studious. Okay, I'll go to 17. It says, "For verily I say unto you," all right. It says that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see the things which ye see, all right, and have not seen them, but Salakia, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. Okay, because right now we are at the fall of Babylon the Great. All right, and back 2,000 years ago, they were in the middle of the Roman Empire. Okay. And with the Roman Empire, yeah, it had its chance to reign. I think it reigned like 1,000+ years, you know, but it fell. All right. But this little Rome, Babylon the Great, that little horn had to rise up, all right, and have its time to rule, and we are at the end of its fall. Okay, because all this is prophecy. All of these things were said to happen. All right, the things that the thing when we were in Rome, they didn't have, you know, the knowledge at the height that it is right now. All right, so that had to come to pass. All right, because Esau Edom is literally about to put his hands to end his enterprise. Okay, but all this is for the word's sake. All of this is for Yahweh Bahashim Shai, because what the words that he spoke, you know, that comes out of his mouth doesn't return to him void. They accomplish what, you know, they were supposed to do. All right, and so now being on the opposite end of Esau Edom's buildup, um, of him being the hunk of the earth, that hammer, we see one of the smallest nations, in Iran, they won the war against America. All right, even though that was a setup by the small hats, the tiny tops, they set all that up. It was orchestrated. All right, but reading this, it says, "Blessed is your eyes, for they see," because we saw how America, tried to go over there and be Billy Badass and try to push them around, but we saw the pushback that Iran had. For them being a small nation, they conquered them. Okay, it says, "For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see these things which ye see, and have not heard, and have not seen them." It says, "And to hear these things which ye hear, and have not heard them." All right, so prophets, kings, great men of renown has desired to be in the seat that we're in right now. All right, because they see at the end of all this, the kingdom of heaven is going to be set up. Okay, and that makes me think of that Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, verse 7. Is it 7? I'll start at 7. All right, it says, "There be 9 things which I have judged in my heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue." It says, "A man that hath joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy." So now that Yahweh Shemiah Shai has awoken us, and brought us into this beautiful truth through our apostles, the elders and apostles of GMS, all right? And since the Most High has done these things, and us being, there's that word again, studious, and toiling in these scriptures, all right, and knowing who our enemy is, and seeing his downfall, even though it's a minute war, it's really, something, hey, call out by Shemi Shai to praise the Most High about, because we wouldn't have thought that another country would be able to dismantle Babylon the Great, aka, well, America, aka Babylon the Great, and now we see that a small country has come up and broke this man down, but not just in the military, in the financial, in the human resources, in his own people. Even though the people hasn't gotten in their minds yet that this bitch is over, salaki for my speech, but it's over. All right, I'll continue reading. In verse, I'll read 7 again. It says, "There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue." It says, "A man that hath joy in his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy." And Esau Edom, he is our number one enemy, and we're watching his downfall. Okay, just like the prophets, that was around the time of Rome, just like Yahweh Shai, because he was in Rome, and we get to see the fall of our enemies, just like they got to see the fall of their enemies. All right, and we can get that in because Rome was at its height during Patra Romana, and that was in 2nd Ezra 11, I think it's verse 40. It's verse 41. It says, because this is what Rome has portrayed, and in calling out by Shimei Shai, we got to see our part of it. All right, but I'm gonna read it. It's Second Ezra chapter 11 verse 41. It says, "For the earth hast thou not judged with truth." It says, "For thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwelling of them that brought forth fruit, and hath cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm." So, just as Rome has done that to you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of Negroid descent, Babylon the Great, aka what they call America, they has done the same thing. All right, and they're still doing the same thing right now. But with that, we're almost out of here that much closer, because we just saw the fall of our enemies over there on the other side of the hemisphere, getting done in by Iran. All right, and now we get to watch Esau come back to America and try to put his people into subjection. Okay, and even that's written about, because like it says here, it says, "For thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable," those that has been cool with you. Esau Edom has literally going to come back from war, and push all that aggression onto the tribes. All right, just like these small hats, they're over here, setting up their New World Order system, all right, to come after you tribes, all right, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of Negroid descent, okay? But just wait, there's more, because as he's coming after us, a bunch of Edomites are going to get caught up in that too. So that war that's over there, it's going to turn into a civil war over here in Babylon the Great, So with that civil war, as you can read in that Sirach, that Second Ezra chapter 15, he's not going to have any restraint. He's going to come down with great wrath. All right. But everybody's going to get it here, because this is a melting pot. But mostly he's coming after you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans of Negroid descent. All right, and I'll pull that Sirach chapter 34. I believe it's verse 20. I'll start at 19, because this is what's about to transact. Okay, it says, Yahweh Shemini Shai is not pleased with the offering of the wicked, neither is he pacified for sin by the multitude of sacrifices. Okay, because in these sacrifices that Esau is doing, he's not sacrificing to Yahweh Shemini Shai. He's sacrificing to himself or his own God. All right. Verse 20, it says, "Whoso bringeth the offering of goods," Salakia. Verse 20, it says, "Whoso bringeth the offering of the goods of the poor doeth as one that killeth the son before his father's eyes." All right, because he's about to use this system that he's setting up to basically make it harder to make a buck. He's about to use this system in such of a harsh way to where you won't be able to live unless you go to him for the one of all things. Plus, on top of that, with that MOTB coming out, all right. Now that MOTB, it says in the scriptures, whoever shall take it shall be damned. Okay, but a lot of jakes are going to take it just so they can have a little more peace in this hell. All right, and hey, that's why we tell y'all don't take the chip, man. The chip, and the elders and the apostles have been saying this the whole time. All right, don't take the chip. All right, Esau is going to make it to where y'all can get it for free, and get it by themselves the first time, and then the second time he's going to come through with force, trying to put you down if you don't take the MOTB. And that's taking the goods of the poor. All right, because we're all poor, we're all destitute. All right, the elites, yeah, they're gonna take the chip because they got something to lose, but we have nothing to lose. Why would we take the chip? Okay, verse 21, it says, "The bread of the needy is their life." It says, "He that defraudeth him thereof is a man of blood." All right, and Esau Edom, he is the man of blood. All right, what does it say in that Psalms chapter 139, verse 21 or verse 20? All right, it goes into, loosely paraphrasing. There yet? I'll pull it. Psalms. This is Psalms, chapter 139. I think it's verse 19. Psalm chapter 139, verse 19, it says, "Surely thou wilt slay the wicked, O Yahweh by Shemiah Shai." All right, it says, "Depart from me, therefore, ye bloody men," going to Esau Edom. Okay, because he is a man of blood. His blood is, his skin is translucent. His blood is showed forth through his skin. Okay, in verse 20 it says, For they speak against me, Slakia, for they speak against thee wickedly, and thine enemies take thy name in vain." All right, because these Edomites, these 2/3, these other nations, that have no connection with Yahweh Shemiah Shai, they choose to belittle. They choose to cast down what bros have been bringing up and bringing out this whole time. It's written through the scriptures. Okay, verse 21, it says, "Do not I hate them, O Yahweh by Shemiah Shai, that hate thee, and am not I grieved with those that rise up against thee. I hate them with a perfect hatred. I count them mine enemies." Okay, just to get all the meat off the bone. Okay, because that bloody man is really your enemy. Okay, that's why I read that whole thing, because that's your enemy. All right, and with him trying to basically bear rule over you, or make himself a god to where he can rule over you, that's wicked. All right, so going back to it, and that's Sirach, chapter 34, verse 20. Actually, it was verse 22. It says, "He that taketh away his neighbor's living slayeth him, and he that defraudeth the laborers," it's like, "he that defraudeth the labor of his hire is a bloodshedder." Okay, because he's killing you. You can't do anything. Everything that you make is getting transferred over to taxes. All right, how can you survive? How can you eat? How can you drink? Oh, the food ain't shit. The water is being monetized. So he's gonna make it to where you can't drink and you can't eat unless you go to him, and he wants you to get the MOTB. So what is that gonna? That's gonna force everybody into that cattle squeeze. So the farmer can, give you that medicine, or that chip, But hey, Salakia, I wasn't trying to make this long. I wasn't trying to make it long at all. It's just a lot going on right now in the world. All right, and if you have an eye to see, you see where all this is going down to. All right, it's all coming to a head as well. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Kakodash, Shalom, and Shalom.